Spicy one today. We're talking about bonds, residential bonds. We're talking about bond thieves, not James Bond, bonds. And we've got expert Cleo, property manager, here to talk about it today. We've got some interesting hacks to teach you. Stay tuned. Wah wah wee wah, wah wah wee wah, wah wah wee wah, bonds.
Yep, it's a touchy one today.
The bane of a property manager's life.
Yeah, we're somewhat Robin Hood, but we're also looked at as being the enemy as well.
The rightful custodian owners of the cash.
Yep, the big bag of cash, the tenant's bag of cash, because let's face it, they pay that money and it gets sent to the bond board and they hold it with no interest, FYI, and yeah, you don't get to look at it until you move out.
No, it's my money. No, it's my money. So just to take it from the top, when you take a residential property in New South Wales for lease, you'll be expected to pay a lump sum of money. Cannot be less, cannot be more. It is 4 weeks of bond when you take the property. There will be an inspection done on the property, hopefully a comprehensive one. And you will live and enjoy the property for a period which may be 6 months, it may be 6 years. That bond that gets paid to the agency will live where?
It goes to a government agency, the Rental Bond Board. It's all digital now, done online, and the tenants, excuse me, sorry. The tenants usually do the transaction. They get sent a link and the money goes to this government agency and it sits there. You get an unique identifying number for that amount of money and that tenancy and that tenant's name. And it stays there until someone puts a claim in for it, whether it be to be released back to the tenant or a claim that the agents put in for an amount to cover repairs and damages or cleaning costs, for example.
Okay, so we're here. We're there. We're at the spot. Tenants exited the property. Property manager goes through the property, the vacant property, and goes check, check, tick, tick, cross, cross, check, check. So the property manager will hopefully go to an incredible, amazing ingoing report, which was done 6 months or 6 years prior. When they check that report, they will allow for fair wear and tear.
Yeah, so fair wear and tear is a real estate term. I don't know how long it goes back, but it is meant to give a bit of a guideline of, fair usage of whatever it is, be it blinds, blind cord, traffic areas and carpet, things like that that are not avoidable whilst living in a property. You're going to use things, and during that time, the age process, it happens to us all, it's going to happen to the property as well, and then you take that into consideration. Something that's broken, let's not be mistaken, maliciously broken, because that's another thing, cannot be considered wear and tear. If I spill my red wine on the carpet, I can't say, oh, that's wear and tear. It's not. It's a stain. It needs to be cleaned. That's something that was even accidental. It's something you've done. For example, as well, a blind cord for vertical blinds, you're using it constantly. The blind cord breaks because you just can't repair it any longer. It's perished. That is fair wear and tear. That's something an owner will have to pay for, not the tenant's bond. Ding, 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 ding. Round one, yes. Yeah, gloves are off.
Okay, so we're there. So, the landlord's going, nah. The tenant's going, nah. Um, a lot of this comes down to, and I do have to say, an experienced property manager, because this is not a fight, or this is not a battle, or this is not a dispute, or this is not an understanding that most tenants have and that most landlords have. It's their first rodeo. Maybe their second, maybe their third, maybe their fourth. But a property manager is in this rodeo every day, every week. So a good property manager will manage this process. It's like flying an aeroplane coming into a ramp, and it's like an aeroplane taking off from that ramp. They manage the entry and the exit with experience, and they do it properly. You get it wrong, that plane crashes, there's carnage. So a great property manager, and I want this to be the lesson from today, guys and girls out there. You've got an awesome property manager with a truckload of experience sitting here. Ask any questions if you've got. And Cleo, can you just go through that sort of that segue of how you manage a tenant's expectations and a landlord's expectations? It's important.
It's so important, especially with a new owner as well. When it's a new owner, they might not know that the bond is there only as a safety net. It's not an entitlement to claim money to upgrade the property. For example, to repair things that normally you would have to repair if the tenant reported them during the tenancy. But it is also there to protect you and your property if a tenant hasn't done the right thing. Sometimes, and in our negotiation process, tenants are okay with you taking money from the bond if they run out of time for cleaning, for example. I booked my cleaner in, they are all booked up, they cancelled last minute. Can you arrange a quote and take it from my bond? And that is something that I do all the time. Like, tenants need to be given an opportunity before you decide, oh, well, we're going to take money from the bond. I hate when people say, oh, I'm just going to put a claim against the bond. It's not so much putting in a claim, it's negotiating with the tenant and the owner before you put in any claim on anything, because some of these things can be rectified very quickly on either side without any money coming from the tenant's bond as well. But it's been, in 15 years, I've got to say, it's been a very long time that I've put in a claim for a tenant's whole bond. Tenants are very good usually, and of course we do routine inspections during the tenancy to ensure this, but they are usually very good at the property. The only thing that might be a bit of a contentious point at the end is cleaning. Sometimes they run out of time and the oven's not clean or that, and that's when you've got that bond as a safety net for the owner. So you can say, okay, look, you've got a day to fix this, or I'll get a quote from my cleaner and we'll pay for it from the bond. And it's usually only a couple of $100. You're talking thousands from a tenant's bond. To put in a claim for thousands of dollars, you've got to really be certain that what you're asking for is legit from that ingoing or whatever, that it's something the tenant's done grossly to the property. So yeah, it's a tricky one. I had an experience recently with a buyer's agent, and she wanted a copy of the ingoing, which I've given her, which is fine. She wants a copy now of the outgoing, which I don't know why she'd want a copy of the outgoing, because she's already done a pre-settlement inspection with the client. They've settled on the property, and I've been to the property and it's immaculate. There is nothing wrong with this property, yet she's mentioned the bond. She wants to, have the outgoing go in there with her new client. And I had to say, look, the tenant's bond is their money, and there is nothing that I can see from the outgoing that is an issue. It's been professionally cleaned. The tenant was there for 3 years. It is pretty much identical to how it looked when this person rented the property. So in fact, I'm sort of protecting their bond in this instance, whereas most people think we try to gouge the tenant, which we don't.
I just don't understand why a buyer's agent is having any sort of conversation with you. I'm surprised you didn't badge up and say, not talking to you, I'll only talk to the buyer.
Yeah. Well, we don't, like, I'm wondering whether they've promised the client something that I don't know about, you know, oh, well, yeah, we'll just repaint, like, or I don't know. Like, it's just nuts. I was like, you know, and I entertain it just because we are in a service industry. So I did provide what documents we have. But, you know, I'm, like you said, this isn't my first rodeo. So I said, if there's an issue with your client, get her to call me after she's been through. We'll discuss it. We'll negotiate it. But that's as far as I'm willing to entertain it.
Anything else before we go on bonds?
I would just say if you're a tenant, always get a professional cleaner. You'll get your bond back within 48 hours. If your tenancies run smooth and there has been no damages and you've had the property professionally cleaned, it's a simple click of a button and that money goes back into your account within 2 business days.
How many percent of tenants will get their full bond back in bond world?
Probably about 85, I would say.
How many percentage of tenants will lose their entire bond in bond world?
Ooh, I'd only say about 5%. Like, very rarely now. Like, yeah, there's no property stock. There's like nothing available. If you want to go to your next property, you want to make sure that everything's tickety boo
on your property going out of. Cleo, you're an absolute legend. Thank you for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you. I'm getting the wind up. My daughter's just awake, so I'll see you in the office.
Thanks, Cleo. Cheers. Bye.